Learning in progress.
Oh, now Jesse's gonna be embarrassed.
Don't say that because I'm gonna turn red really quick.
Well, we appreciate you, buddy. All right, we're masterminding today with Neil Schwartz and our very special technical guest, Jesse Becerra. Jesse's claim to fame is he runs all the admin at Century 21 Masters, and on top of it, I guess a hobby, above a hobby, because he's doing it professionally, is he takes pictures for real estate agents' listings and does a very, very nice job of it. And what I wanted to do is kind of pick his brain today, get best practices from him as a professional. And some of you use your iPhone and your Android all the time, and some of you use a professional camera, and you're not paying a professional. That's okay. This isn't about you spending money. This is about you getting the best pictures that we can so that we get on the internet and they get flyers taken care of, et cetera, et cetera. So Jesse, tell me a little bit about your hobby. How long have you been doing this?
Hey Neil, so I've been doing this, at least the photography stuff, for the last 4 years. I took advantage during the pandemic to kind of start when when people should not be around people. I took advantage to be more around people, to go ahead and start photographing homes. I learned how to do that, I guess, within the first year or so, and then I started kind of taking a little bit more serious, trying to figure out little tips and tricks how to better take angles from a home, how to better photograph them, what angles look best when it comes to photographing the exterior versus the interior. And that's kind of what I've been doing the last couple of years.
So it's interesting because, I have an iPhone, probably just about like everybody else, an iPhone or an Android. And I'm always told, that all you have to do is this is the best camera, this is the best thing in the world. But what I find is that you use a professional camera when you're doing these. Why? What's the difference? Do I need a professional camera, or why do you have one?
Well, I think the difference for me is just the amount of detail that I'm able to capture when it comes to photos, depending on like lighting, depending on range. Some phones are limited. So I know they say every year the phone cameras get better and better, and at least for a regular photo, they do what it's supposed to do. But when it comes to professional cameras, there's lenses, there's dynamic range when it comes to the lighting source of the camera, how dark it gets, how light it gets, and how you're able to more customizable.
So on my iPhone, can I customize some of the settings that are automatic?
Yeah, absolutely. You have the ability to customize settings on an iPhone, pretty much every phone now, and they have more settings where you can kind of make sure that the phone is tilted correctly. If it's too dark, you could brighten it up. Those are just kind of like the basic settings, enough to get your photos to look decent enough or good enough to post, if you will,
Got it. Got it.
or print. You could do that too,
I'm sorry, or frame?
or yeah, print.
A print. Okay. Got it. So let's start from the beginning. An agent gets a listing. They want to start taking some pictures. They don't want to hire a professional. Again, this is not about hiring Jesse. This is Jesse sharing his stuff with us to help us. And if you're using an iPhone or an Android, you still can get decent pictures and decent things, et cetera, et cetera. It just depends on the quality and where you want to go with this. Okay, but when you go prepare the house, so give me some things that you find are helpful to make sure the agent and the owner knows on for for photo shoot day?
So starting with
See,
the week that you,
do you want to post your sheet or just
yes,
make
I'll go
sure
ahead and,
everybody sees a copy of it? I'll post. I'll put it in the link.
all right. I also went ahead and put it in the chat box.
So if you guys want a
So starting off from the moment that you guys grab the listing, I would just suggest start cleaning, packing everything that doesn't need to be out in the open. The garage area, if there is a garage, is a great place to start hiding stuff for the day that the photographer or you guys, if you guys are taking the photos, to come in. Things that don't need to be exposed out in the open, kind of like shoes, plates, little things like that, toys, doggy toys or cat toys or anything like that that's out in the open. I would suggest to like move them away, kind of make the home look as clean as possible.
So Jesse, let me ask you a question on that. Let's say you're taking a picture of the kitchen. Sometimes people forget and leave a few dishes in the sink, right?
Right.
I lost Jesse.
Nope. So
yeah,
here.
so they'll leave some dishes in the sink, but you suggest to make sure the sink is completely clear because the camera can pick up different things there, right?
Yeah, typically when you take the photos from, you never want to see underneath the sink. You as a photographer, I tend to take above the sink or at least at kind of waist level. You can still see what's inside the sink most of the time if you're because there's a distance. So I would suggest putting everything that's in the sink away in the oven, or if you have any place to where you can store dishes, put everything away. You want that area as clean as possible.
My favorite hiding
Or
place.
clear.
My favorite hiding place is the oven.
The oven.
But Jesse reminded me we were talking about the oven. He said, make sure you tell the seller that everything's in the oven so they don't turn everything on and melt the dishes.
It's hasn't happened yet, but you know, there's still time.
Stuff happens. Exactly. Exactly. Boy, what a way to start. You get a great listing, great sales price, and you melted all their dishes.
All the dishes.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so another thing within the kitchen, another thing I would also recommend is just if there's with it in the refrigerator, remove any pictures, family pictures, magnets like that. That also tends to draw attention. So I would just kind of remove that so you could kind of see the space instead of draw the attention of what the refrigerator would be, family photos and what, you know, sentiment areas are.
So if the client isn't removing the magnets from the refrigerator, Jesse had shared that you should probably take a photo of how that's laid out so that when you take everything off and the client comes home and nothing's on the refrigerator, you have a photo for them to put it back in the way it was. Right?
Yeah, I usually when most of the time when agents are there, they tend to go above and beyond and take the photos down. But that's always a good recommendation to just kind of take a snap picture of how the refrigerator was prior to taking the photos down. That way you make sure you put them back the way they were before.
Right, exactly. Okay, so what else? Is there anything else going on in the kitchen or the bathrooms that we need to be aware of?
So my recommendations for the kitchen, and I went again ahead and put it in the PDF, is just to kind of wipe down the countertops, wash the dishes, put them away, make sure they're not in the sink, remove towels and sponges, take down any magnets, again, from the refrigerator we were just saying right now. Keep trash cans out of sight. That's one of those things that I always tend to either move them away when I'm there, or just kind of like make sure that I'm not capturing the trash cans. And consider maybe like to kind of add more of a character, fruit bowls, something on the countertop, fresh flowers, adds a little bit more character to it. And maybe a centerpiece in a dining room, that also goes well as well.
Got it. Okay, good. And anything else in those? Oh, we were talking about the bathroom, the bathtub. with bathtub toys that are there from last night sometimes get in the picture. And I noticed something that he had shared with me today, that sometimes the mirror catches a reflection in it you don't want seen. So you want
Yes.
to make sure. Go ahead, Jesse.
Let me go ahead and share that really quick. Here we go. All right, so let me make it a little bigger. Sometimes it's great to close doors. In this particular case, it would have been great to close the door because you can see all the stuff that they have in the mirror. And it also kind of is a great way to kind of show you guys what happens when there's not good lighting in the bathroom, and then I have to go ahead and color correct it. These light bulbs, this is the original photo how it was before, and this is how it is after. So kind of there's a lot of tweaking involved when it comes to certain rooms.
And the color, which is kind of interesting, the color on the left-hand side, as I'm looking at it, you can't really tell the clutter because it's dark inside of there. But when you clean it up, it really makes a big difference. So if you've taken a picture like this, you've got to color correct it when you get back to your office. You may not have a chance to come back and take a picture of a decent bathroom, but it's not decent when you whiten it up a little bit. That'd be actually a pretty terrible picture, right, Jesse?
Yeah, it's a good example of what not to do.
Exactly. Okay, but just know that when you're putting website photos up, double check the photo color, because a lot of times the bulbs will create a different color, or sometimes the camera will create something. Now, most iPhones, according to Jesse had shared with me, and Androids have a color correction device in there, automatic. However, it doesn't happen every time. So double check it. However, when you're using a professional camera, sometimes you need to white out the picture to get the color back to normal. Am I correct, Jesse?
Yeah, just to color balance each room because a lot of the times they have different wallpaper too that would also add a different color to the room. So light, yellow light like that plus brown color paper is gonna make the room look very, very orange. Like this one, for example. This would just happen to be a bright blue room with yellow lighting, which also made the room look very, very orange.
Okay, got it. Okay, good. All right, what else you got for us?
All right, looking through the interior of a home, I would recommend for the bathroom, since we were just talking about a bathroom, remove any personal items from the sink. So toothbrushes, combs, anything like that left in the sink, remove them. Hide soap, bath sponges. Do not leave any children's toys or toiletries out. Put the toilet seat down. That's always a big plus. I don't like touching toilet seats, and I'm pretty sure you could tell your clients to go ahead and touch to put the toilet seats down. So that's always a big recommendation. And always put a fresh roll of toilet paper and make sure it's being hung, not just left in the sink. That's also I've also had that experience as well, where they've left toilet paper on the sink.
The toilet paper roll, you mean?
The toilet paper roll, yes.
Yeah, got it. Check and double check. You know what happens, and I see this in the photos. This is actually what prompted the conversation with Jesse and I today to bring him out, is that when you walk in a room and you go into the same room all the time, you don't notice what you don't notice. Does that make sense, everybody? You just don't notice it. And then when the picture's taken, you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe, that can of deodorant has been sitting out on the counter, all day long, or whatever the situation is. So make sure that you're checking and double checking what's happening. Jesse, go ahead.
Inside the bedrooms, I would also recommend tidying up there. If there's any clothes in the bed or anything like that, move those away. Usually you could hide those in the closet pretty well. I would also go ahead and declutter the nightstands if you have any, if there are any nightstands. That always kind of makes it look very, very neat when it's just a clear nightstand, and the bed in the middle. Would also recommend putting away shoes, umbrellas, any similar items like that in the pathway, so that way you don't see them if they have any hallways or anything like that. Sweet the vacuums, any mops, when you're cleaning around the house, move those away too. You don't want to see those. One of the things that I always recommend too is just make sure the fans are turned off. Sometimes you don't even think about it, but when there's fans, even though it could be kind of a hot day inside the house, it creates a blur. So usually, like, you would take a photo regularly, and the camera tries to capture it as fast as it can, but sometimes the fans are a little faster. It'll just look like a blur with the light on top. That's one of the biggest recommendations I could give you guys. Um, Try to keep cables and wires out of the way. Sometimes the internet router, I know sometimes they leave it out in the open or anything like that. There's cables running around. Try to clear those off as well. Again,
Jesse, let me ask you a question here. There's a lot of stuff. So you recommend that the agent take this list, walk around the day before or the week before the photographer's coming out? And then I guess the question is, do you, the photographer, as a professional, if you were to go, do you do all of this work, or you're asking the client to do it or the agent to do it? What's the
so I
community
give
here?
I give this list to the agent most of the times if they don't already have it. Just kind of like a courtesy, like, hey, this is a nail before I go sort of thing. Kind of what to do the week before and what to do the day before I go. So landscaping, that's one of those things that takes time to schedule with gardeners and whatnot. Those kind of big things. So it kind of gives you some time to do so. And then little things like, again, putting away shoes or anything like that to nail the day before or right before I get there, so that way we're in and out and we're not disturbing the clients in their home if there's still people living in there.
So, so if they take this list, if our agents take this list and they have it lined out to sit down with the client, this is going above and beyond on client service. Because if all this stuff isn't right, the pictures, whether the agent is taking them or a professional is taking them, isn't going to come out very well. And you're going to either have to do it again or you're going to have garbage pictures.
Absolutely.
Makes a big difference, right?
I'd say so. There's there when it's cluttered, it's hard for people to picture themselves in that home. I would suggest just clear it as much as you can. So that way whoever's looking at that home can picture themselves living in that home.
Okay. And the more pictures, we teach that all the time, that you should take pictures down when you can, if you can. We have a question. Yvette Jeter's asking a question. So, Jesse, you're on the spot.
All righty, bet.
Thanks, Jesse. So thanks for sharing that. So you gave us some good information on decluttering, how to empty, how to make it, just very minimalistic. What
Mhm.
about when you have a vacant house? So now we're talking about kind of the opposite. So what would be your suggestions other than staging?
So other than staging, when the house is completely empty, if there's rugs, I would always suggest cleaning them, getting the carpets cleaned. You could always tell when the carpets aren't clean versus when they are, because they leave those nice rows of the carpet cleaning. Um, and cleaning the windows. That's a lot of the times some of these homes don't have shutters or anything like that. So you could see if you could kind of tell when there's like cobwebs or something that was left behind. Cleaning the windows so that way it's almost see-through to the point where you're not seeing any smudges on the windows.
Mhm.
One of those are some of those big recommendations. And then probably um again, one of the biggest things for me is just changing the light bulbs, making sure that all the lights are working, making sure that the colors are matching with every light bulb. You're not getting one room that's with, with yellow lighting, another with blue lighting. That always helps kind of make the home look a little bit more nicer.
Ah, that's great. And Jesse, do you do or know of, there are apps that will allow you to put, table, bedroom, all of those stuff in a property.
Virtual staging.
Virtual staging.
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't know if there's any apps that will do the virtual staging for you. I know there's people you could contract to do virtual staging. Just
They're apps.
because, yeah, they're apps. I
Yeah.
haven't looked into them myself yet.
Okay.
But that's a really good question, and we'll
Yeah.
get an answer for you of that. And if somebody here has a virtual staging app, can you put it in the chat box? How's that? Good job. Thanks for the question. Good stuff. All right, Jesse, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. Yeah, so those were some of the little tips and tricks that I would say for inside of the house. The exterior, again, window cleaning is kind of big too, because you could always see when there's smudges on the wall or handprints on the window, sorry. Pressure washing concrete. I know sometimes, cars tend to have leaks. Sometimes there are oil leaks. Oil leaks tend to stain the concrete. If you could pressure wash the concrete too, if you have that time and you could do so, I would recommend you do that. What else? If there's pools, make sure there's no, it looks blue. Like you want to see a nice blue pool. You don't want to see a dirty pool too. Furniture, if there's furniture outside, patios or anything like that, make sure it looks nice, well organized.
Open the umbrella or not open the umbrella on a patio furniture?
I personally like them open. Sometimes that causes problems because the shadows, makes it look a little too dark or anything like that. But I feel an open umbrella looks better than a closed one.
And on that subject, what about washing the deck down outside and then maybe having the pool, the top of the pool wet so that it looks like there's a little motion out there?
I wouldn't really put water outside. I think if it's dry, it's better because then it just kind of I feel for me at least it mismatches it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend splash any water outside. If it's dry, it's better.
Okay. Cool. With that thought, if it's rained in the morning, do you suggest shooting or moving the shoot?
I'd still do it. I've done shoots in the rain before. Well, I've done it when it's like sprinkling and it's still wet outside. But I mean, if as long as it's all consistent, if the whole driveway is wet, then it's fine. I don't like to see certain parts of it wet, other parts of it dry. I think it looks a little weird.
Okay, got it. In the chat box, Tess put a virtual staging in there, so you can look in there. Thank you, Tess. Should have known you would have had one like that. Tess is not talking to me. Okay, so exterior. What about as you're talking through this is interesting. It's a lot of work for the client and the agent for photo day to get the best photos possible, correct?
I would say so. Getting prepared.
Right.
There's a lot going into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here if you want the best photos from your client, and I can't imagine you calling the client on Tuesday and having the photographer on Wednesday and getting all of this stuff lined out. You would need to make sure. So that's probably why it's a good idea when you take a listing, make sure you give yourself time to get all this stuff done. Because, you know, if you've got a car in the driveway and you don't have the keys to it, you know, it may take you a couple days to find the keys or something like that. Or maybe getting, do you recommend, as the agent suggests, that maybe fix how does a, what do they call those, a screen that has a hole in it come out in a photo? Is it going to be prominent, or should we get rid of the screen or replace the screen?
I would remove the screen.
Just
Any kind of, yeah, because you don't want to show anything that's damaged either. I try to specifically avoid those things, unless it's like really unavoidable, like, you know, there's holes in the wall and they just went ahead and like patched it up and the colors are mismatched, and it kind of is what it is. But for the most part, like if there's damage, I try to avoid that part.
So if you have a living room that has a bunch of photos and nails in the wall, can you do anything from behind the scenes to patch the wall, or do you need somebody to patch the wall and put a coat of paint on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do that a lot. Like you were just saying, the cars in the driveways, I can remove the cars from the driveways if in case, you know, you can't find the keys or it's just kind of stuck there or the person's not there. That's one of the things that I do provide when I do my photos. In terms of photos in the living room, I could also do that as well. If it becomes one of those things where it's very complicated to get people to remove things, pick things up, or anything like that, I could virtually declutter these photos.
I'm not sure I knew that. Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Like magic, right?
Yeah, I then become a virtual cleaning lady.
Could you get rid of the dog in my house?
Virtually, yeah. Permanently, I can't do that.
All right, good. Wow, that's great. But then if they don't, the client doesn't do it or the agent doesn't move stuff around, then it costs them a little extra because it's a time issue for you, right?
Yeah, I mean typically, like, that's why I kind of give this list out, because I try to prepare, or at least prepare the agent to prepare the home as much as they can. Because then it becomes more of a thing I have to do. If they don't clean the home, then I kind of have to make it look as best as possible, or make it look presentable at least. And that does include removing items from the floor or anything like that.
Got it. Great. So Grace has a question. Grace, you want to ask your question?
Yes, my question is, current modern homes, they're so close to each other. And it's not matters how you change, sometimes it's the room just dark. Do you have any suggestions for south, north facing or east, west facing to pick a certain time of the day? Or maybe the lunchtime is bright for everything?
Great question.
I find that when the sun is right above, which is about 12 o'clock, that's the best time, because you don't cast very many shadows. When the afternoon, you're getting that afternoon shadow, but you're also getting that like twilight where the sky looks really, really nice. In the mornings, you tend to get that morning shadow depending on where the house is located. But once it's like noontime, 12 o'clock, it's I would say the ideal time where you could take that, or if it's overcast. If it's very, very cloudy, there's the removing the clouds is not an issue. But I think what you're kind of thinking about more in that sense would be just the shadows of where they're casting.
Example, like won't you suggest the east facing property shoot in the morning because the sun go to the front house right there, like very sunshine, like bright, like the sky happy. But in the afternoon, because east facing, the sun is the other side. This side is still bright, but it's different. Do you suggest that, or it's okay?
No, I think it's fine. Just as long as it's not super, super dark, or like, nighttime, then, you're coming into issues right there. But like, as long as there's light out, you should be fine.
Because you can adjust it from the lens. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great question, Grace. Thanks. Hey, so Jesse, that brings me to another one. Sometimes people like to do twilight pictures and things like that. So are those more difficult? Are those things that we can do without a professional?
Yeah, you just have to wait. Specifically, you just have to wait for twilight. I can go ahead and take these photos at like 12 o'clock when it's like bright daylight and then adjust it to make it look like
You're
twilight.
making, so you're making a twilight photo at noontime and I've got to wait till twilight.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
You're like a magician.
Yeah, in very many ways.
Sounds great. Okay, good stuff. Very, very cool. Good. Other questions for Jesse? Other tips or tricks of the trade? Jump in or raise your hand.
Jesse, I got a question for you.
Ask away,
I
Mr.
know
Tyrone.
we talked about pictures there. By any chance, do you do anything with the, what's it called, Metaport? Is that when
Absolutely. 3D
you
virtual
do? Oh,
tours.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So those do just kind of give you guys a kind of an idea of how that works. Those do take a little bit longer because you have to kind of keep in mind that the camera has to scan the room.
Right.
So you would need one of those 360 cams, and it takes a minute for it to scan the whole room. And then basically it's a game of hide and seek with the camera. I have to, put the camera somewhere, hide, press, scan, and then, so I don't come out in the pictures. And then go back to the camera, move it a couple steps, and then same, because you could only go about 5 to 10 steps. So those typically do take a little bit more time. So if in case you are planning on getting 3D virtual tours, just prepare for at least a good hour and a half to 2 hours for scanning, depending on how big that house is.
Oh, okay. All right. Good
So
to know.
can we do those ourselves, or we really do need a service for that?
There are applications where it allows you to do those virtual scans, and you can even pay for Matterport yourself too, because I know that's the popular one. Because Matterport is just an app, and then the cameras, that's another expense too, and it's fairly simple to kind of learn. It's just kind of tedious to go ahead and do it yourself.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Other questions? Good question. Tyrone, wait a minute. Somebody else had a. Emma, did you have a question?
Is there a price list?
There is a price to it. My prices are in my price sheet. So if you guys want to go to jessethephotographer.com, it's gonna have everything there for me. My price breakdowns are right there as well.
Cool. All
Can
right.
you post that on the chat box? Your
Absolutely.
contact name or website.
Yes, I'll post it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, other questions? Questions for Jesse?
Jesse,
Daisy, go
Jesse,
ahead.
do you do regular video and drone service as well?
I'm sorry, Daisy, you were kind of cutting off. Can you say that again?
Yes, if you do regular video or also a drone.
Yes. So I include drone with my photography because I feel like with the drone you kind of get the best shots when it comes to the exterior of the house. Kind of that front photo instead of kind of like an angle, because homes are bigger than we are. So I would get it straightforward. I include those in my packages as well as video, if in case you want to go ahead and do that as well.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right, good. Excellent. Other questions of Jesse, the photographer? All right, so Jesse, any other tips, little kind of things that you can, maybe some stuff that you've run into in the past, or example photos that you pulled up?
Yeah, so well, one of those things I always recommend too is if you could go ahead and again hide everything in the garage, and then if you have tenants living there, that 30 minutes to an hour that I'm there is probably a good time to probably take a walk, because I do sometimes have tenants that are in the house, and I kind of have to tell them like, hey, would you mind moving a little bit or getting away from the shot, because the camera does capture. It's a pretty wide lens camera. So the point is to capture the whole room, and sometimes there's a hallway in there where they're trying to hide, and then they're peeking through to see if, hey, what, are you done in this room? Can I come back in? Maybe it would be a good idea to just kind of tell your client like, hey, what, while the photographer is here, maybe let's go talk in the kitchen, or let's, take a walk around the property while I do the interior of the property, and then you guys can come back in.
One more
What?
question.
Ask away.
Are you finished?
Yeah, go ahead, Emma.
Yeah,
When are you available?
I'm available whenever you need me. Just let
Well,
me
you
know.
work.
Let
That's
me
the
know in
reason my
advance.
Oh,
masters.
he does work, but mostly in
Yeah.
the evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
A
So
que-
this
I
this
have
I
a
do.
question, guys. I don't know if it's for you or, but I have a question about the staging, digital staging. Is it allowed for MLS or
Yes.
can I do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of people digitally stage, and I even have had a few agents tell me that it's easier now to, or at least more cost efficient to digitally stage than it is to physically stage of the property. But it just
And
depends
it's
on.
allowed. I'm not gonna get any fine for doing that because
I
Wait a minute,
wouldn't.
let's find, wait a minute, where's, I saw her on here, where's Jackie or Terry?
oh yeah, I know, right?
Everything,
Okay.
yeah, when in doubt, call Jackie or Terry.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Beer, I always tell you the same answer.
I know, I know. I just got it because Yvette just mentioned it. So since Yvette do it, it means it's allowed, right?
Yeah, I think where
Oh,
you
you
run into
wanna,
issues is when you change what the property looks like, not the staging.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen any issues just yet when it comes to staging, but I have had my fair share of people tell me we don't want to change the property, like what the property looks like, because then it's not what you're presenting when people come in.
Yeah. Thank you.
that makes sense. Good question. Great stuff. Grace, you had another question?
Yes, I want to answer Abir's question because you better put a
Oh, good.
picture first and then put a staging picture next to it, and then people know it's virtual staging, and you have explanation underneath. Instead of you put all the virtual staging house, then that's no, that's a misleading to the people. Think about, you say a real picture, a virtual staging picture. So you have two
Smart.
in one list.
Very, 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 very good. Hey, Jesse, you showed me a picture where you got rid of some clutter.
I did.
Yeah.
Let me
What-
share my screen once more.
Kind of what I think Grace is talking about.
All right, here we go. So this would be the before.
Okay, wait a
Um,
second before you change it. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got a bunch of stuff in the back, and then we have a bunch of toys. Kind of a bit of a boring room to begin with. Is that a dining room and living room? Is that what that actually is?
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, got it. And then we have an after.
Oh.
Not
which
that
is
one.
just removing the toys.
So you did that digitally?
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. Oh, we lose the plug though, too.
What about
Yeah,
this
that's
the wall?
the stuff in the well. This was just one example that I didn't really get to finish, but just because I didn't, there was different angles of this one. This was just an example of what is possible to do. You could go ahead and remove all of that. The plug would obviously just stay there. But in terms of toys, removing anything from the living room, like these are some things that we could do, even for example, outside again.
Slow.
You want to
Let everybody now go
Yeah.
back. Okay. Got it. And the goal, you never take a picture of the garage open. The goal is to make the garage everything that is extra. Right?
Yeah. That day in particular, we were still moving stuff, so the
So,
garage was open.
so let me ask you, are those oil stains?
Yeah.
That's an example of you would recommend power washing that driveway.
Yes.
Got it. Good stuff. So Jesse, on the outside, sometimes agents recommend or clients want to take a walkway and maybe put some tulips or something on it. Does that help or not?
It builds character. Definitely does build character. It's not one of those things that is like permanent to the property where like you can't really move it. So whether it's there, whether it's not, it's up to the agent whether they want to kind of dress up the home with either staging or with sorry, not furniture, flowers or any kind of pottery. But it's completely up to the agent at that point.
Got it. So we have a note in the chat box that Tess said her microphone's not working. I've never been anywhere where we couldn't hear from Tess. I'm a little shaken by this, Tess. But anyway, she wanted to make sure that everybody knows that the MLS just needs it disclosed that it's a virtual staging. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I was kind of confused. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, good information. Thank you. Let's see, I need to link to have trouble finding. Wait,
Should go right through it.
okay.
There we go.
Oh, she was having a little trouble with getting to Jesse, the photographer. Jesse, did you
Here we go. I went ahead. Yeah, I went ahead. Yeah, I did. I made sure to right before.
A lot of other people Daddy.
Yeah, so I went ahead and pasted the GoDaddy link and then the direct link as well. So either one works. Should go to the same website.
Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Okay, let's wind it up here. Other questions for Jesse? Because otherwise we need to put him back to work. All right, everybody, let's give him a big hand. Woo! All right.
Woohoo, Jesse!
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you,
So
Jesse.
we're going to go around the room and see what we learned. I'm sure we learned a lot of stuff. I certainly have a lot of notes here. So what did you guys learn from Jesse today? Hello?
Start.
Anybody?
Lighting makes a huge difference.
Lighting makes a huge difference. Right?
Lighting makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You could carry your
Declutter.
own- Sorry, Grace?
Yeah.
Declutter.
Okay.
Declutter.
Thanks, Shannon.
100%. 100%. Good stuff. It's
Be
amazing what they can
personalized.
do today. Go
Don't
ahead.
take your own pictures. Use Jesse.
Okay, all right. Well, that'd be great, but if it can't be done that way, there's a few. I think for me was understanding two things. One, how the light bulb changes the color of the room and how important that is, especially in pictures. You might not notice it in looking at your dining room, but when I go to the store and I buy these bulbs, sometimes they say bright, sometimes they say yellow, sometimes they say, you know, whatever they say. I didn't know what that meant. Now I know what it means, and I got to get all the same light bulbs. But you know, you guys need to drive around with light bulbs in your car, so that you can make sure when you're going to take a picture, get the right light bulb in there. That makes sense? All right. Go ahead. What else did we learn today?
Pictures make a big effect.
Big effect. Big effect. And getting good pictures, good quality camera in the beginning makes a very, very big difference.
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. Thank you. Emma, did you have something you wanted to add? No?
Oh, was I sitting on this?
Make sure you remove the toilet paper.
So here's
That
a question.
and close the lid.
So here's a question. Is the toilet paper, here's a trivia question for you. Is toilet paper supposed to come out on the top or on the bottom?
On the top.
I thought bottom.
Top.
Okay.
It depends on how bad you gotta go. It don't matter.
This isn't that. But I used to do it one way my whole life, and then I found out from my wife I've been wrong. Very interesting. So that's something for you guys to talk about at home. Okay, Yvette, what were you going to say? What did you learn?
I learned a couple of things. Well, as you mentioned, I hate to see the toilet seat up. Hate it with a passion. So I'm glad I have a professional that agreed with me, Jesse. And the lighting is super important. I mean, you can tell professional pictures from someone who's taking it from their iPhone. And we're all guilty of that. But you're a great photographer, Jesse, and we
Thank you,
appreciate
Yvette. I
that.
appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. What do we got here? On the bottom, the US patent shows it that way. That's interesting because I heard they said it the other way regarding the way it was patented originally. We're back to toilet paper again.
Interesting.
All right, good stuff. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Jesse, great job. Jesse, we appreciate
Thank you, everyone.
appreciate you. Fabulous. Good stuff.
That's
I'll
right.
bet you, Jesse, I'll bet you, it's just a guess, that this gets rendered and posted faster than anything other.
There's a little bit of personal interest on this
I'm
one, so
just
there might be a
guessing.
chance that it might be up later this afternoon.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Neil.
Who's next up? Who's the next caller?
Oh.
I don't have that.
I will pull that up in a second.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going back from photographer
One of the
to
advantages to interviewing Jesse at 1:15 is that you find out what happened earlier today.
All right, let's see. Week 30. We are in week 30, 27, 39. We have Miguel up next. Miguel, Juan Carlos Jr., and Daisy capping us off.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.